I need my freedom.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Valiant Unicorn YouTube channel where we promote self-love and healing through creativity. And today I have my sister Chanel here. You may know her from Escaping Polygamy. If you're from Utah, you've probably seen her at different rallies.
So at one of the rallies at the Utah State Capitol, I brought signs that read, "My polygamist father is still married to 3 of his half-sisters. He used to be 4, but one of them died. The polygamist group that I left teaches incest as a religious rite. My polygamist half-brother is married to our half-sister, whose parents are also half-siblings. They are procreating." And just some things they told me in polygamy. You need to fit in with the one above. Don't question the one above you. He must have had a good reason for it. We don't call the police on our order brothers and sisters, and we don't talk about that. All of these things are still going on today.
Yeah, somehow you always get into all the advocacy, and so next time if that comes up, tell me about it so I can go join. We were talking about different experiences we had growing up, and we wanted to share that with you guys. So there was one time we got taken away. How old were we when we got taken away? Do you remember?
I was 5. It was 1995.
Oh, wow. 1995.
It was right before your birthday, though, so you were still 7.
Yeah. So I was in 3rd grade, you was in 1st grade. And I want to tell my experience, and I also want to hear your version of it, because I don't think we've ever even talked about this.
That's what I was realizing. I've never actually heard your
experience.
Tell it how you experienced it. Yeah, so I'm curious.
Okay, so I guess I'll just start with mine. And the social worker that took us away actually ended up being the same one that helped Jessica and Andrea escape. So, small world, I guess.
Yep.
Before we get taken away, I'm actually staying after school with my teacher. And Chanel's in 1st grade, so after school she's supposed to come. We're supposed to meet up and walk home together. She was like, "Are you not wanting to stay because you get beat at home?" And she was asking that for other reasons, because I would like cover my face a lot if I got in trouble, or if so she kind of knew there was something weird going on. And I was like, I wouldn't talk to her, I wouldn't tell her anything about it. But her husband, she's like, "Do you want to talk to my," one time she actually got me to stay after school and practice reading or whatever. And she was like, "My husband wants to talk to you. He's Mickey Mouse." And he had Mickey Mouse's voice. And so she's like, and then Mickey Mouse is asking me, "Do you get spanked? Do you get spanked with a..."
Was this over the phone?
Yeah, over the phone. And so I was like, "Oh, it's Mickey Mouse." And so I basically tell him that, yeah, I get spanked with a belt sometimes at home, and that's why I don't want to be late and whatever. So I don't know if that I think she reported it, honestly. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, or if it was part of the reason we got taken away. But we got taken away, they broke into the house. The officers broke into the house to get us out of there, because Mom wouldn't open the door for him. And Colleen was hiding in a toy box.
Well, first, first, do you care if I chime in now?
Yeah.
Okay, so the day that they came, then first we hear knocking on our front door. And, everybody's used to the door getting answered when somebody's knocking, and Mom wasn't opening it. The door was locked, and she was just like, just ignore it, and turns on the vacuum. And so, for us kids, it's chaos. We got the vacuum going on inside, and it's noise and chaos. We got someone pounding on the door, and we're confused and kind of scared, and we didn't know what to think. And but when they broke in, then the social worker had actually called the police. So at first it was just a social worker knocking on the door, and then when the police showed up, then it's more banging. They ended up going around to the back of the house, and they broke in through the back, busted that door down, not the front door.
Yeah. I do remember the lock flew across the kitchen.
Yeah.
When they broke it.
Yeah.
And then were you hiding? Or where were you?
I wasn't. Wait, no, I was. Some of us were hiding behind the couch. I think Colleen was in the toy box.
Yeah.
Yeah, so me and the other kids were Me and the twins were hiding behind the couch.
I just remember
One of the couches, at least.
I just remember mom being in cuffs. Like they cuffed mom and had her hands behind her back, and I was like trying to like take her hand, like the cuffs off of her hands.
Colleen was too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, Colleen was also trying to, but Colleen was only 2 years old at the time.
Yeah, she was a little girl.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
And then we got like, this almost made me more loyal to the order, actually, this experience, because we did get separated. Each of us went to different like foster homes. I was by myself. You went with Colleen, right?
Yeah, Colleen and I ended up at the same place, and the twins ended up at the same place. So like mom had 6 kids. 6 kids got separated, but you and the baby were the only ones who were alone.
Within 3 days, he was like neglected, or he came back with some wounds. And so mom was really upset about that. And it did only take 3 days for us to get put back. Yeah. Like, I guess the judge was really upset that they had broke into the house in order to give us back.
Right, because there was no search warrant, and nobody was in active danger or harm. Like, they didn't have the jurisdiction to actually bust down the door, and
they didn't have sufficient evidence.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think they knew, because they're this. Like I said, it was the same one that helped Jessica and Andrea escape. But this was way before that happened.
However, at the same time, Heidi was also going through social services, and so I think some of it too is like, I almost wonder like how similar the kids looked, because if it was the same social worker and they see us in these situations, it's very, very similar. These single moms who have, a half dozen kids, and of all ages that have been single moms the whole time, like they kind of put 2 and 2 together. But I also wondered if like, did we look like we were related? Because we're half siblings. There was
reports of abuse, but mom not answering the door maybe caused an officer to overreact.
You know what, though? But this wasn't the first time that the social worker had shown up to the house. Previously, before they came to and busted down the door, then the social worker did come to the house, and mom did let her in.
And they did have a conversation.
Yeah, and they did have a conversation. Yeah. I already felt so violated. But I remember the tape recorder, and they pushed record, and then they went into it and like wanted me to take off my clothes, and I was hesitant. And then they pushed the recorder again and threatened me and told me, take off your clothes or I'm going to take them off for you. And then when I finally decided to do it myself, then I saw them push the tape recorder again. So I knew dang well that they were hiding that threat from whatever the heck that they were recording. Yeah. Right? And because obviously...
Did you tell them who your dad was?
Nope.
Because we were already previously trained on how to answer. And it was like, I viewed, like when they asked who your dad was, we were already trained to say Stephen Snow. And I didn't even view Stephen Snow as like a separate name. Like that's 2 names. Like it was just in my mind as a little kid, I'm like, okay, Stephen Snow. That's 1 word. Who's your dad? Stephen Snow.
Yeah. And the training sessions too. So the training sessions, they sit us down. It's the parents, Daniel, mom. If there's another adult involved who's like, I've been through this, I know what questions they're going to ask, yada, yada. And they sit us down and they'd be like, hey, they're going to ask you questions like these. They're going to try to prove that you are in polygamy. They're going to try to say that polygamy is the problem. They're going to ask you if you've been abused. They're going to ask you
if you've been hit by a belt. Like we were already like
and so then
for this.
Yeah, so then we start going through the process. So then they ask us, all right, who's your dad? Daniel, slap, slap, slap.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right, exactly. And then we're like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And they're like, don't say Daniel. You don't say that. And so we're like, I remember at first being like, wait a minute. So, because at first I was like, okay, I hear what you're saying. And then the person who's asking me, like, they know who Daniel is. So I'm like, okay, well, obviously I'm going to tell you the truth. And they're like, no, don't tell me the truth. And I'm like, oh, I can't tell you the truth either.
Yeah, like they were training us, they were beating us into submission, and they did. And there was so many times that we'd go out in public and people would be like, oh, wow, your kids are so good. And it was just like, well, that's because we were trained to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also really want to give credit to my mom. A lot of the stuff she was doing, or even she was just told to do. Like there were so many things that it wasn't her decision. Even I had been told like to be like my younger siblings, and I feel like that was just so that they could keep, like Daniel and them could keep their hands clean.
Well, and Daniel showed Mom how to beat.
Yeah.
How, like, he beat the
he would do it,
Yeah.
and then he would be like, okay, now you do it.
Yeah, and he'd tell her, do it this way. This is what you need to do.
And if she didn't do it the way that he said, he would do it again.
And it would be worse.
And then he would be like, okay, now do it. And like the kid's there just being hit multiple times until she does it the way he wants her to do it. So, I mean, I know this is really extreme. I didn't expect to go this dark, but
yeah,
that's how they got us to answer the way they had us answer. Okay, so you didn't tell him that Daniel was our dad, but one of the kids did. I guess it was one of the twins.
Yeah, but even at that, think about it. She was 4 years old. And and at least at that point, there was nobody slapping her for telling the truth, for saying the wrong answer.
Right. And it was very extreme. It definitely made me more loyal to the order because like they split us up. They asked us to like show our bare bums and like they're looking for bruises and
exactly.
They're interrogating us, and it's very scary because there's a police officer there with the agent or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and we had already been told that the police are scary. We'd already been told that they want to break up our families. They want to take us away from our parents, and they want to destroy our families and like destroy our lives. And we experienced that. They broke into our house. They tied up our mom. Obviously it wasn't tied up, but
yeah.
From a small child's perspective, and then like took us away. And we already knew that they were bad guys. We knew because we were already warned that they wanted to come and hurt our family. And now here they were, taking us away from our family and our siblings.
And honestly, Daniel used that a lot. Like when he was getting after us, is like, you want the state to come in and split you guys all up so you never see each other ever again? Right?
Exactly. And when being questioned by social workers and stuff, one of my sisters had a bald spot on the back of her head, and I actually did see the situation, the abuse that took place. And when I was asked about it, I lied. I said that he did it. I said that my brother did it because I knew that they couldn't do anything to a child. I knew they couldn't do anything to my brother for, giving my sister a bald spot. But if I said that it was one of the grown-ups, they would come after the grown-ups and they would take us away from our family.
Yeah. So how was your family, the family you was with?
So Colleen and I ended up going to a Latina household. Mm-hmm. So it was a culture shock. We weren't like our household wasn't really racist, especially at that time.
Well, we lived. I think our closest neighbors were Hispanic and and Native American, right? Actually.
Well, and Mom had she was doing daycare and she had babysat African American kid and other ethnicities. So like
we were a little more exposed to the other races.
Yeah, but the family, they spoke Spanish with each other. So me and Colleen, obviously, we just felt like outsiders because, and we already, we knew we were, but now we're in a home like with people that we don't even know what they're saying. But when they spoke to us, they always spoke English, and the mom was really, really nice. I don't even know if I assumed there was a dad. I don't know if I saw him, and if I did, I probably just tried to stay away from him because in the world I grew up in, dads weren't friendly. They were scary AF. Like, you just stay away from them. And so I assumed there was a dad, but I really don't remember much about him. And there was a couple of teenage girls. One of them was old enough that she had a boyfriend. And I just remember thinking that was so weird because, in our culture, you don't date. You can't kiss until your wedding day. You don't hold hands unless you're engaged. And so I just remember complete culture shock and just being like, that's so weird. And then the younger girl, she wasn't old enough to date. I want to say she was probably 12 or 13. Mm-hmm. And she was really nice to us. And so we played games with her, and it was actually during Halloween. Mm. So she helped us. I think that was the first year. I was 5. So I think that was the first year we even ever went trick-or-treating. Like, me and Colleen got to dress up, and it was just I don't know, it was an interesting experience. Like the family that we went to, they were really nice, but the whole scenario was just kind of
traumatic.
Yeah. I
do remember you guys got, sorry to interrupt. I'll let you finish.
I was going to say it was only a few days, so there wasn't really time to even adjust to it in general. But like the adjustment wasn't, considering all the differences and everything, it wasn't too bad because the lady was really nice. One time I even climbed out the window and, you know, me, 5-year-old and a 2-year-old playing with the window, and I climbed out and we shut it, and we couldn't open it. I couldn't get back in, so I had to walk around the house and like knock on the front door, and she just like, the mom was just like,
what did
you get outside? Don't climb out the window, you know? Like, I mean, there were just a couple little things. So we went to a good place, but.
Yeah, I know you guys came back and you both knew how to count to 10 in Spanish after that.
That's right.
And I was like, oh, wow, they learned faster than me in 2 days.
In 3 days.
3 days, yeah.
Yeah, actually it was 2 days because
the third day was basically, we were all in like, I don't even know where it was, like some state custody. They were just getting us all back together so they could give us back to our mom.
I think it was 3 days from the day that we got taken away. Mm-hmm. Then that would have meant you was only in a home, like somewhere for 2 days, because didn't you stay in that one place?
So I was actually, it was a state facility. It was like a place that had employees that didn't have, like, you didn't have a parent. It was like they had workers, and they would like, they had somebody there on nights to like do bed checks, and there was cameras everywhere. And because I was younger, like I couldn't stay up. They had teenagers there, and there was one kid my same age, so I was put in his same room that had a couple bunk beds. And then he had an older sister that came and visited him, but she was also in state custody. Well, she was in state custody, so she was staying there before she turned 18, but she had just turned 18. And so she came for Halloween to come visit him. And I was kind of like, I wanted to go with them, but she didn't have any rights to me, so she couldn't like take me trick-or-treating. So he shared his candy when he came back or whatever. But I think you guys got to keep your candy too, right?
Yeah, we got to keep our candy.
Yeah. So I was like jealous because I was like, I didn't get to go trick-or-treating just because I wasn't that lady's sister. But it was also a culture shock because, I don't know, it was just different because I never seen a girl like her, like with like piercings, and yeah, so it was really interesting. And she was nice. She was way nice. So that was our one time being taken away. It was brief, and yeah.
Right. Even like for the rest of my upbringing, I never ever looked at the police as companions, as people who would be there to help you or to protect you or to serve you in any way. Like, they always were a threat to me until the day that my ex was arrested for domestic violence. I mean, yeah, obviously I see police officers in a much better light, but
while we were there, then they were scary.
Right? Well, and we experienced it. We experienced it firsthand. Honestly, at that time, I think that Heidi's kids had already been taken away from her at least once. So that was either the second time or the third time. So like we, even before we were taken out of our mom's home, we saw it in our family. Like Heidi's kids were just gone. And we're just like, and you know, they were her two oldest girls. Yeah, were my best friends too. So I was like, well, oh man, we're so alone. And it really did feel like, even when it wasn't our family, it really did feel like they were breaking up our family.
Okay, so that was that story. The next thing I wanted to talk about was saying no. Is it easy for you?
Obviously, nowadays there are things that I feel like it's a lot easier to say no to, as far as like when someone's trying to push me spiritually or religiously and like put that kind of, to push me in that way. Mm-hmm. I am really good about, be like, stay, here are my boundaries, you can have yours, but stay out of mine. Like, don't try to push yours over here. But in other ways, like too, in general, I have a really hard time saying no. And like my nature is naturally, I want to help. I want to help. And if there's something I could do, then I want to do it. If I can make you feel better some way, then I want to do it. But that's not healthy. Like I have to have boundaries too. And so I have a hard time, like, wanting, like someone will, for example, be like, I just move, I'm moving and I have a cat. I can't have my cat for a few months or whatever. And like,
Can you watch my cat?
right, exactly. And I be like,
If I can.
I have to say no. I have to say no. But then there's still the part of me that's like, oh, I want to help. But I'm like, but I know I can't say yes because I'm not in the position. I can't take the cat because even if I committed, and because I also too, I'm like, well, if I have to say no, how can I help? Or how can I say yes? Or how can it be blah, blah, blah? What can I do?
Like you feel you have to give a reason why you're saying no.
Right? Or I can help you out for this short amount of time.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
So it's like
right? So then I have to like pull myself back and be like, no, but boundaries, like, no needs to be a no. There doesn't need to be a reason. And just because it's a no does not mean you are responsible, or does not mean I am responsible for helping them find the yes,
right.
or the solution. Like, if no is no, then it should be respected as such. And that's another thing too, that like it's with my kids, it's kind of like I get conflicted because we were told, like growing up, we were told, you do what you're told. First time you told, no questions asked.
Right.
Now I'm over here being like, actually, I disagree. Everyone has a right to ask questions. Everybody has a right to understand why they're expected to do something. And so, I'm all about like the communication and asking questions, and yeah, that's totally fine. But then also now, if like, say for example, my kid's like, hey, I want to hang out and I've had a busy week or whatever, and I want to say like, no hangouts, then I'm over here being like, now I need to give all this list. I need to be like, well, we had this on this day, this on this day, this on this day, and my back really hurts because I did all this physical work and this and this and this and this, and I have to like stop myself and be like, oh my gosh, Chanel, like,
it's no.
You are the mom. If I say no, it should be respected as no. And it's not like my kids aren't being like, well, why? What's the reason? And I get that, but sometimes it's okay to be like, the answer is no. Yeah, the answer is no. That's my decision. It needs to be respected.
Well, I've been really impressed just with where we came from, how well you handle your kids, and I'm like, wow, it's really interesting.
Well, thank you.
Because I don't know how I would handle kids, but I'm glad I don't have to worry about it.
I know, it's interesting. So interesting. I feel like it's a completely different culture. And I feel like I've been raising kids since I was a kid, and I'm still trying to figure it out,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I definitely raised kids alongside with you.
Yep.
Yeah. The second youngest was my favorite because I was actually an adult when I started raising her, and I'll probably post a picture because like that was like my baby. Okay, back to saying no. I do feel like I have to give a reason why I'm saying no a lot. When no is a complete sentence, you don't have to give a reason. Also, I do feel really bad about saying no. Like when someone's, they're asking for something I can't give them, and I say no right away, but then I'm always like beating myself up after, like, why can't I just give them like this money or whatever? And it's like, well, I don't even have it, and I still feel bad. But yeah, you actually was able to say no in the order. You got a reputation for saying no at the dances, actually.
Yeah, which is interesting because I really didn't say no very many times at the dance in the first place. Like, you're not supposed to. They did say, do you want to? And I didn't want to, but okay, whatever. And so the girls have to either constantly be like watching around to see who's headed their way so they can run outside so
or
they
ask
can
me
avoid...
to marry, or not marry, dance with them.
Yeah, or go find someone else. Hey,
Like
here, dance with
them.
me. Dance with me before someone else asked me to dance. I told my friends, you can say no, you can say no. And so before I ever even like was practicing saying no, I was reminding the girls around me, they are asking you, do you want to dance? If you don't want to, you can say no. And so then I realized, all right, well, I clearly need to start following, what I'm saying. So I say no. And okay, turns around, walks away, seems a little sad. I just felt so guilty. I just felt like an innocent boy came up to me, didn't even offend me or nothing, and I just slapped him in the face. Like, that's what it felt like from saying no. And like the shame was on me because how dare I say no? That was so rude. And as a teenager, I think I only probably said no twice.
Really?
I think.
Well, in that culture, it's very extreme. I only was told no once, and it was when I was already being kicked out. They were like, no, I'm not supposed to dance with you. Aren't you gay? Yeah, there was actually a different time you said no to someone coming forward on you.
Oh yeah, about the situation. And it was from everybody. It was from like, my friends, my parents, my siblings, my grandparents. Well, not grandpa, but I don't want to talk about marriage. So it was like, I had this conversation with my mom 3 times. I want to say it was like 3 days in a row, but it really might have been 2 days in a row because I did graveyard and like maybe it was the beginning of my shift and the end of my shift. And anyways, yada, yada. I had this conversation with my mom 3 different times because she would check in and be like, all right, so where are you at with the marriage situation and whatnot? And like, how are you feeling about that? And I'd tell her the same thing. Well, I'm not ready. I don't want to talk to anybody. If anyone's coming forward, I don't even want to know. And so she was like, okay, all right, then we have the conversation again. And so she's like, okay, well, I'm letting you know that there is someone coming forward. And so at that point I was like, okay, well, fine, but I don't want to know who it is. Don't tell me who it is. I don't want to talk to them. And so she's like, okay. My mom's like, okay. So come to find out, the only reason we were having this conversation is because Daniel was pushing my mom. Like, this little coward refuses to come talk to me about it. So he was telling my mom, go and talk to Chanel about this. So the mom comes back and be like, this is what Chanel said. And he tells her, that's not true. You're lying. Go and talk to Chanel about this and tell her that someone's coming forward. So she has a conversation with me again. Comes back to Daniel. This is what Chanel said. You're lying to me. You're a liar. So then the 3rd time he was actually there and the phone was on speaker. And I didn't know about this, not until later on. But he was actually there to hear the conversation because
and
Daniel.
Hear you say no.
Yeah, to hear me say no. Mom respected my wishes. She allowed me to say, no, I'm not ready for this big thing.
Decision. Yeah.
Yeah. But Daniel didn't give a crap. For him, it was just like, no, you follow my timeline. You get ready when I say you're ready. And you don't have the right to say, no, you're not ready.
Well, I want to point out something else. So many times Daniel does that where he's just like, instead of doing the dirty work himself, he's like making someone else do it. So, but anyways.
Yep. The first person that was like, that came forward, then Daniel didn't talk to me. He didn't call me. He kept going through mom and he was telling mom, get Chanel to say yes, tell Chanel to say yes. Like with actually the first guy and the second guy, he didn't even, I realized after, the second guy?
He did that with me, with Colleen.
Yeah.
Like, because Colleen was hard for him to control. So he would try to get me to do it. And I was just like, you can't control her.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be her idea.
Didn't he tell you, I will make your life hell?
Yeah. He's basically made all kinds of threats. But in the end, that's all they were. So.
Yeah, right. He's told me that before, too. I can make your life a living hell. And I basically I didn't say anything, but I basically called his bluff. And then he was just down there like, oh, no, what do I do now? I can't control her.
Yeah, that's one thing. Most of Daniel's, it's just a lot of bark. He's not going to do anything himself and to us.
But he has a lot of minions.
Yeah.
He has a lot of little slaves, a lot of little minions who are more than willing to step up to the plate and get their hands dirty because as long as they're pleasing the one above, they're doing what's right.
Yep. So he doesn't have to get his hands dirty. With the shame and guilt, even now I feel when I say no to someone or no to something, I just try to tell myself, I understand that this was a survival tactic in our environment. And so I want both of us, and I'm sure you're a lot better at it, but like, just kind of when those feelings of shame and guilt come in, we just be like, I get what you're doing. I get you're trying to protect me, but I got this. You're not needed right now. And I kind of learned that from Dr. Ramani's book, honestly. It's not you. It was...
I've heard good things about Dr. Ramani.
When I was going through it, then I actually was like, Chanel sounds like the fixer. I feel like she's the fixer from our family. And I felt like I was the helper. And then maybe a little bit of the golden child and a little bit of the scapegoat. But
yeah,
it'll be interesting. You should borrow it because I've already listened to it.
Yeah, I should.
Yeah, that's my thing for all of you guys too. If you ever feel like you need to say no, or if you're feeling guilty about it, just kind of tell those feelings of shame and guilt that you're not needed. I got this. It's fine.
I do want to say, though, that even though certain things, and sometimes it is still hard for me to say no, within the last couple of years, I have had a lot of growth and like understanding and respecting boundaries, like my own and my family's boundaries, because before it was just like I was too possible. Yeah, I was too eager to help. And so I was like, I would bring someone or something into my home that kind of disrupt everything. And then it would only be temporary anyway, and then it would go, and then we're all just kind of like left and be like, okay, let's pick up the pieces. And so now I've gotten to where
someone else would come in.
Yeah, and I've gotten to respect, my boundaries more so, and respect the fact that it is okay to say no, and you're not obligated to do everything that somebody expects you to, or that, like, first of all, you can't do everything, but if you're over here trying to do everything that people expect you to, like everybody expects you to, like there's no room for you at all. There's nothing.
And I want to point out with some of these people, there's no pleasing them. They're going to be dissatisfied whether you help them or not. So you saying no to those type of people, it's really, you're better off because they're mad no matter what.
Yeah.
So.
Right. And it's not like you can say no and have the answer be no. It doesn't have to be
Explain.
No, not right now, or no, but here's why, or.
Yeah, that one I feel a lot of pressure because like I feel like I have to give the why.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you to read this and we can talk about it, but you don't have to.
Oh, I want to.
But I actually just barely yesterday watched an interview with Terry Cole. She wrote Boundary Boss, and I actually read her book before I made that boundary video. But I didn't know she had a YouTube channel, so I'll link an interview she did with Romney that I just watched the other day. The interview was really interesting because Terry asks Romney, she says, are narcissists made or are they born? And short answer is that they're made. And when she was explaining the environment that a narcissist comes out of, it sounded like the order. Because first, you're not only are you telling this child that they're special, you're telling them they're more special than anyone else. And in the order, we're like literally Jesus's descendants, supposedly.
Right. We're special because we're white. We're special because we're in the order. We're special because we're Kingston.
Yeah. But then the child also understands. Oh, the other part that comes with that is that their emotional needs are completely ignored. So the kids are going to be ignored for their own needs, and they're going to realize that specialness that they have is conditional, like that love that they get is conditional. And I was like, wow, that sounds so much like the order. How am I not a narcissist, or am I a narcissist? And
yeah.
But she did also mention that just because you're raised in that kind of environment does not necessarily guarantee you're going to come out a narcissist. Sorry, the camera died on us, but I did want to hear if any of your advice on saying no or standing up for yourself would be awesome. So leave it in the comments. Or if you've read Ramani's new book, It's Not You. Thanks again for watching. I'll be reading all your comments. Bye-bye.